Hello, I'm Dennis Pullin. One of my favorite parts about being president and CEO of Virtua Health is getting to know our colleagues and the many ways they are here for good. Each person contributes to healthy communities, and each person has a story to tell. Let's meet one. Well, Lia, welcome to Here for Good, the Insight Edition.
Thank you.
I was looking forward to talking with you, but before we get started, why don't you share a little bit about your journey, your career path, and how you wound up here at Virtua?
I love this question because I honestly believe it was fate.
Really?
So at the time when I first was introduced to Virtua, I was actually laid off from a previous company. And a friend of mine had gotten a phone call from one of the recruiters who was looking for a registrar in Voorhees overnight. And she couldn't take the position because she had a young one. So she's like, Lee, it's a perfect opportunity. I know you said you're looking for something. I'm like, I will do anything.
Even if it was overnight.
Even if it was overnight. So I called, spoke to the recruiter, and she was just like, you would be a perfect fit for our call center expansion. And I'm like, let's do it. So ended up starting as an Access Center navigator and worked my way up. And now 12 years later, I'm now the director.
I don't know if I would have answered the call for the overnight part, but I get it. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do, right?
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about the day-to-day activities of a director.
Managing the operations, making sure that we're running as efficiently as possible to get to the community. Also, a lot of it is people, managing people, making sure that my team has everything that they need to be successful.
How large is your team?
Oh, we started out when I first was hired. It was the first initial expansion of the Access Center. So it was about maybe 20 of us right across the street over at Lippincott. And now we're about a team of 250 now.
And I would think that can be a little challenging because many of them are remote.
More than 90% of our team is remote.
You're also in an area where technology is important, and you have to many times implement new technology, new process. How do you manage that? One, the need for innovation, but adapting it and getting your colleagues all on board.
First thing is you gotta get your leadership team on board and make sure they understand the why, the importance of it, and how it's going to not only benefit the employees, but also benefit the patients at the end of the day.
Oftentimes, the folks that you work with, that you lead, are the first line of, I won't say defense, but usually they're the first encounter that a lot of our patients have when they reach out to schedule an appointment. And tell me how important it is for them to be able to connect with patients and understand and appreciate the human aspect of it. Technology is one thing, and many of us, we're forced to engage and interface with technology, but we're still a people business. And so how do you make sure that 200 and some odd colleagues stay connected with the human aspect of what we do?
Even though I may be one of the people that is the driving force behind the technical implementations that we're doing here, I actually prefer the human touch. So even though I consider myself a delicate balance of the two.
But you have to make that a priority for people to understand, because even though a lot has become automated and we have to use that, how do you continue to get people to prioritize the human touch part that you just mentioned?
The technology may be able to effectively deliver great service, but doesn't necessarily mean we need to implement it throughout every single encounter. You still need to make sure that you are talking to people when people want to get to a person. They have that accessibility and not denied.
Do you have examples of which that demonstrate how some of the colleagues in the Access Center have gone above and beyond in dealing with patients?
We have one particular colleague where we had a patient that kept coming through one of our priority lines, and her mother was admitted at Virtua Our Lady of Lourdes. And for some reason, her mom wasn't very technological savvy, didn't have a phone. So she kept missing her, in between her treatments or anything like that. And you could hear the desperation in the call. Like, she just was like her last living parent. She's like, I just need to know and hear her voice to make sure she's okay. So what my colleague did, obviously Pennsauken and Virtua Lady of Lourdes is a 5-minute drive. So she drove to the hospital and with the patient's daughter on the phone and let her use her personal cell to talk to her mom.
You can't teach that. That's something that comes deep from within. I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but One of my most enjoyable things that I get to participate in on a yearly basis is something that comes from your department. Would you share with our audience what that is and why you think is so important to me?
Meaningful connections is exactly what it sounds like. It's encouraging our employees to make those meaningful human touches. So if any of our navigators feel like that they have, provided a wow experience or an above and beyond situation, they are encouraged to submit that encounter to us, and we screen them. And then we end up, putting in a nice little package and ask a member of our executive team to judge those encounters. And then from there, throughout the year, you have one winner every quarter. And then we have the final judging with you at the end of the year. And then that person receives a certificate and a nice reward. But the highlight of that competition is to remember that, yes, we are patient facing, sometimes the first contact that our community has with Virtua. And do not make it transactional. Take your time and treat them like a human being. Treat them as if, they're your own family member or a person that you love.
And that's why it's become so meaningful for me. I mean, I make rounds throughout our hospitals and clinics and physician practices all the time, and I get to see some of the great work that many of our clinicians are doing on a daily basis. But it's something about being able to get up close and connected to what some of our colleagues do just on the phone, and to hear how they go about helping, alleviate some of the anxiety and some of the fear and some of the frustration, and work with many of our patients to get them to where they need to be. There's just no greater joy for me. I really enjoy you guys allowing me to participate in that. Talk to me about another program, our PENS program, and what that is, and PENS.
Patient experience navigators. That idea birthed actually out of, yes, the navigator position. We have the Access Center, but we saw a need in our hospitals. So the pens started out in the ED. We had situations where our clinicians would, discharge a patient, but, there would be some concern around whether they could get that next day appointment or even that appointment within a few days, or even if the patient would follow up with said care, because navigating the medical maze can be extremely complicated. Their sole purpose was to make sure that if, the clinicians felt that this person could be discharged, we did not need to admit them, that a patient experience navigator would come in and schedule their appointments in real time.
How do you keep such a large team engaged, especially when you have so many of them working remotely?
We took our team and ended up creating a team within the team called Engage 360. That team is sole purpose, of course, is the surrounding employee engagement. We started out by creating a private Facebook page where we encouraged our navigators to sign up and start to post not things related to work, but things you're excited about, something that would, a quote, something that inspired you. Did your grandbaby just have a recital? We want to see it, So from there, we ended up birthing some clubs. We had a lot of our navigators that had hobbies and we wanted to see if we could connect them via those hobbies. So we ended up creating a book club, a gardening club, a gaming club for our younger generation.
Why is it that engagement and culture is so important to you and your team?
This is the first company that I've worked for where you walk the walk. Culture is huge because you can teach skills. You can't teach heart. You cannot teach people to care. So when we are bringing and inviting new people into the Access Center and, to join our team, we're primarily looking for, are you a person that has heart? Do you have patience and empathy? Because those things, without something traumatic happening, can't be taught.
I mean, I know you have a number of hobbies and a number of things that you're interested in. Share some of those with our audience that really gets you excited.
Ever since the second grade, I went to nothing but performing arts schools, and I was on track to be a first soprano opera singer. And I trained under coloratura mezzo soprano at the Philadelphia Metropolitan Opera.
And so why have you kept that a secret all this time?
That's
So
it.
singing
Singing
was your first love,
was my
huh?
first love, but now what keeps me fueled and keeps me inspired is actually I love to dance. So it's actually perfect timing. This weekend I just came back from a competition in Atlantic City.
And how did you do in your competition?
I competed in 6 divisions, and I placed first in 4 and second and third in the other 2. So
Well, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I've always known that there was a joy outside of work that you had found a way to bring it into what you do for Virtua, and it just speaks volumes about your success, your team's success, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for our communities at large.
Thank you, Dennis.
And it's great to have you on here for good.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm always surprised about the things that I learn about our great colleagues. And so I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and please tune in for our next edition of Here for Good, the Inside Edition.